Hey guys, what's going on? If you're new here, welcome. My name is BrittanyNichole, and today I wanted to walk you through the 10 essential brushes I think everybody can use to be able to create a full face of makeup, whether it's every day or for an event, plus a sponge. That's just a necessity, in my opinion, in a kit. I did a poll on Instagram and asked you guys, how many brushes do you use on your face? How many do you have? What's your go-to? And the average answer was 3 brushes, which actually kind of surprised me because most of my friends have 2 brushes, a face brush and an eye brush, and that's it. And usually it's a face brush that looks something like this, and they use it for powder, they use it for blush, for bronzer, even for like a crease color, which it just blows my mind. And then they have a flat brush or a fluffy brush to kind of work in their crease and use for their eyes. So I'd say that 3 is pretty good, but I really do recommend these 10, and you can get it really from any price point. In all honesty, if you bought all of the affordable options I'm going to share with you today, you'd probably be able to get it for like less than $30. I'm not a big fan of those brush kits that people sell, like different brands, because I just think there's some brushes that are included in there that you're not going to like, and you're going to want to grab other ones. So I'm going to share some of my more expensive brushes with you if you want to invest in your brushes and have them for a long time. I have had some of my MAC brushes for over 15 years. When I started doing makeup professionally, they've held up. They really, really do last if you invest in your brushes, but not everybody's gonna wanna do that, right? You might just wanna get something at CVS or Target, something for, you know, $2, $3, $4, $5 that you can just use and then throw away when it falls apart. So I'm gonna share a number of different options with you today and why I think you need these brushes to kind of be able to create a full face of makeup. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go ahead and keep watching. So starting out with foundation, I have 2 options here. I have a more expensive option that is the IT Cosmetics Complexion Perfection number 7. This will run you about $49. And then I have the e.l.f. Complexion Duo Brush, which is $8, a complete dupe for the IT Cosmetics brush. I love them both. They both give me the same exact effect. I think that the IT Cosmetics, well, I hope the IT Cosmetics will last a little bit longer because it was just so much more expensive, but I can't recommend them enough. I use them for a few things. I'll use it for primer to rub all over the face, and then I'll use this for foundation. So I'll start in the center of the face and I'll work my way out. I love that you can spread the product with this. You can stipple it in, you can do little circles. Really, really nice brush to have. And then you've got the other end, which you can go in with your concealer. Some people like to blend concealer with their fingers or a sponge, but I sometimes will go in with a little bit of cream bronzer, or I'll just kind of pinpoint conceal with this. I mean, I guess this isn't really pinpointing, but I'll go in and use concealer with it. So very, very versatile. I do like having 2 brushes, and I know this is a little bit excessive, but I like to keep my foundation brush with my foundation, with whatever's left over from when I work off the back of my hand. I like to keep that as I do the rest of my makeup, because when I go in with something like a cream bronzer or a cream blush, which is why I like to have another one, I'll use this for my cream bronzer or cream blush. So I'll dip in and then I'll, you know, work it right into the skin. I really like the effect of this brush with a cream bronzer, or the IT Cosmetics, same brush, with a cream bronzer and cream blush, because again, you can stipple and you can move the product. But when I'm done with that, with this brush, I'll go back in with my foundation brush and just blend everything together. It's nice to keep whatever you're using your foundation with around as you go in with the other products to make sure they blend. So really, really recommend these brushes for foundation. It'll change your game, I think, when you go in and do your foundation. An honorable mention that I have to talk about, because I used it for years before I found the IT Cosmetics brush. It's the Sigma Flat Kabuki F80. I want to say this is probably around $30, but this works really well for foundation as well. Spreading, stippling, same kind of effect, but I do like this a little bit more. They're a little less dense than this one. This is really dense, so it'll give you a lot of coverage really quick, whereas this, you can kind of build up the coverage. So I want to quickly mention sponges. I'm not including that in the 10 essential brushes, but I do think a sponge is essential. So after I do my foundation, or again, after I go in and do my bronzer, I will always take my sponge and just kind of stipple that all over the face. It really helps create a seamless look. I'm all about seamless makeup, and and not being able to see any edges. So having a sponge in your collection to do that is a game changer. And then I always use this to kind of pat out whatever's left over or any kind of excess under the eyes. Really, really nice. This one is $1.55. It's the AOA Paw Paw Sponge. Highly recommend this because I don't feel bad throwing it away every week because it's so affordable, and they sell them in like a 16 pack, which is what I always get. There's also the Beauty Blender that you can get anywhere. That's about $20. And then the Real Techniques sponges are typically around $7. Unfortunately, the Real Techniques just doesn't work for me. This one is like the softest of them all. So check it out. I will link them down below. So next I want to talk about bronzer brushes. I feel like I'm gonna say blush in place of brush at least a few times in this video, so bear with me, but please use a different bronzer brush from your blush brush. All my friends use the same one, but you don't want your blush placement where your bronzer placement is. Sometimes it's okay to kind of, you know, layer your blush over your bronzer, but you really do want to have separate brushes so you can really target that application and not have color where you don't want it. So my most favorite and most used brush for bronzer is this one right here. It is the Wet n Wild P53, the Fire and Ice brush. I was doing research on this, and this is $3.25 at Five Below right now. So I hope it's still available when you're watching this, but this was limited edition for a while and then it went away and you couldn't find it anywhere. And everybody was like, what is that bronzer brush you use? I love it. Sometimes I use it for blush as well. And I was like, it's the Fire and Ice collection, but they're sold out of it. So maybe it's like overstock. I don't know how Five Below works, but all I know is for $3.25, you should go buy 3 of them. I have a backup in my collection, but this has held up for probably 2 years already. Really, really well. I love the size of it. It is absolutely perfect. I love the dome shape, so I can really get in there and add my bronzer. I typically do these small little circular motions, and I'm not placing product where I don't want it. That's something that tends to happen when you're using a bigger brush. So I use this one, and I do recommend it because I like it. It's just too big for my face. So it kind of depends on your face shape and the size, but this is a Real Techniques all over face brush. I think that's what it is. They've since updated it, or maybe it's a Real Techniques bronzer brush. It's about $9.99. Again, they have an updated version on Target that I'll link down below, but see the size difference here? I love how small the Wet n Wild brush is, so I can really get targeted application. If it's summer and I want a little more color on my face, I'll go in with the Real Techniques because it covers, you know, more surface area, but I do grab for this one a lot more. They have the exact same dome shape. That's what I go for, and they're not too dense. See, when I run my finger over it, you can kind of see that the brushes give some give or have some give. That's what I look for with a bronzer brush and a blush brush. So really, really like these two, but I definitely go for the Wet n Wild more. I think I've said that about 3 times now, so you get the idea. So for blush, you guys actually recommended this one to me a long time ago, and it took me a while to buy it, but I am so thankful you recommended it because it is my go-to. This is the Flower Beauty blush brush. This is $14. They only sell it on Walmart.com. I wish CVS would carry it, but they don't, but it is perfect. Same shape as the bronzer, so you can kind of see what I go for. Very, very not dense. I always, when I go back and edit and I'm like, what are you trying to say? Not dense. They're loose. They have a lot of give to it. That's again what I want in a blush brush. The size is perfect. I can really get targeted application. Very, very soft and holds up really well. I can't say enough good things about it. It is the best blush brush I've ever used. A close second is this Japanesque brush. It's just their angled brush. You can find them online on like eBay. I got this at TJ Maxx a while ago. They're between like $10 and $20. I do like an angled brush like this for blush sometimes. It really kind of helps with the application, making sure you don't go overboard. Wet n Wild sells one at Walgreens super affordably. It's a little bit smaller than this. Again, this is loose and it's not gonna like pack on too much product at once, but you can look around for other brushes that kind of have this shape. I'd say if you're a beginner and you kind of need help with placement, this really does help. Another brush that you guys recommended is the e.l.f. blush brush. This is a little more classic as far as shape, and this is I believe $5. Not my favorite. I did want to mention it because a lot of you guys like it. So play around and you'll have to see what you like. But I don't know, there's something different when it's flat. It just applies too much product versus something like this. This is so perfect. Try it out. And thank you guys again for recommending it to me. So the last brush I want to recommend for the face is a highlight brush. Please use a different highlight brush from your bronzer brush and your blush brush. You do not want to put highlight where you put your bronzer. You don't want to put bronzer where you put your highlight. So I highly recommend picking up a domed brush like this. This is the Bretman Rock Wet n Wild collaboration from, I want to say about a year ago. You can get these very affordably, like $10 on eBay still. They're not sold in stores. Maybe it'll be on Five Below, who knows? But really, really nice brush where you can get targeted with your application. You only want to highlight where the sun kind of naturally or light naturally reflects off the face, right? So this allows you to go right on those tips, those cheekbones, under the brow bone, above the arch of the brow, right down the center of the nose, the tip of the nose, the cupid's bow, and even in the inner corner. Very, very similar brush is the Morphe M510 right here. This one does shed a little bit. This is about $12. Another brush is the Real Techniques brush. This is $7.99. This is their setting brush. This works well as well. The Real Techniques is similar to this one right here, which is the Anastasia A23 brush, but I definitely prefer the dome shape right here over these ones. I do use these from time to time, but the dome shape is just easier to work with and you can get more targeted with your application, especially if you're a beginner. You want to try to be targeted with that application and again, not apply highlight where your bronzer is or bronzer where your highlight is. I will say for being as expensive as the Anastasia brushes, this was $25. It also has not held up that well over time, whereas this Wet n Wild one was like $5 maybe and has held up fantastically. So I do like them both, but I'm definitely grabbing for Wet n Wild a lot more. So moving on to eye brushes, the first eye brush I recommend is having a flat packer brush. This is something like the MAC 239 or the Sigma E54, very similar shapes here. I've had this MAC 239 for about 15 years and it's held up beautifully. These are really, really good to just pack eyeshadow all over the lid, really good to pack cream eyeshadow all over the lid. It's kind of one of those one not and done brushes because you do still have to blend it out with a fluffy brush in my opinion, but definitely a staple if you want to pack color on. It's hard to pack color on with a blender brush, so it's definitely something you're going to want to have in addition to a blending brush. There's more affordable brushes. I think Wet n Wild sells one at like Walgreens and Target for 99 cents, and you don't have to get the nicest of the nice brushes. I got the MAC brush, which this is $28. The Sigma brush is $16, but I got this MAC brush. I think it was my first MAC brush I ever purchased because I worked across from a MAC Cosmetics and I would go in there every day and that started my love of makeup. But I just had like, at the time, MAC was really the only widely available brand that sold brushes. It wasn't as easy. I think Wet n Wild had them, but it wasn't as easy to get like professional makeup brushes. So you don't need to spend $30 on a brush like this, but with that said, it's held up well. So definitely recommend having this in your collection to pack on color. So like I said, you can't just use the flat brush. You do need a blending brush. So I'd highly recommend looking into the Wet n Wild brushes. They're just really good. Their Pro line, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they're as widely available as they were. These were at Walgreens for a while. They tend to come out with a kit at Walgreens, which, like I said, kits aren't my favorite, unfortunately. I just feel like kits have some brushes you will use and some you won't. So the Wet n Wild P20, which is right here, I have two different versions of it. This is my favorite blending brush. It is the perfect size. I can really get in there and carve out my crease. And you guys know I have hooded eyes, so I have to be really kind of specific with my brushes because again, I don't want to apply color everywhere with my hooded eyes or it tends to look messy. So this one is really nice to kind of get in there and add color into that crease area. I also recommend the Smith 247. This is my go-to high-end blending brush. It's the perfect shape. It's a little bit pinched, but it's still domed, so I can really get in there for targeted like outer corner work, and then really get in there with crease work. If I apply like a shimmer and I don't want to move that around too much, having a brush like this is really nice to just be able to blend it out. Again, you can go under the eyes with these as well. There's a ton of blending brushes. I was looking online. Elf has a blending brush for $6, so you can just kind of play around with it. But these Smith brushes are expensive, but they last forever, and they are by far the most high quality, even more than the MAC brushes in my collection. And this one, of all of them, I have about 4 or 5 of them. It's my favorite because it's pinched. And like I said, this Wet n Wild one is just bomb. So please get on Five Below and purchase it. Purchase like 3 of them. You will not regret it. You can even use this for highlight if you wanted to. So on that same blending brush note, I do recommend having a smaller blending brush in addition to your big fluffy ones like we just talked about. Highly recommend the Morphe M507 and Morphe M506. Very similar. The 507 is right here and the 506 is here. The 507 is just a little smaller and a little more tapered than the 506, but I use them both all the time to do really detailed crease work, right? So I'll get right in that outer corner and apply my darker shades without going in too heavily. Another favorite is the Sigma Detailed Diffused Crease, the E33. This is about $15. It's at Target. Somebody tell me when Target started selling Sigma, but same idea. You could just really get in there and do that detail work, which is really helpful if you have small eyes or if you have hooded eyes like me. But if you don't, it's the same idea. If you want to do like a halo eye and you want to really kind of apply darker colors without going overboard, having a small detail brush really helps with that. And then again, you can kind of go in with your darker colors on these, and then with your lighter colors that you're going to use to diffuse, you can have on your bigger blending brushes. So being able to not have to interchange them and then get dark color in the crease where you don't want it, or vice versa, is really helpful. So I know it's like the one brush that's a little more excessive, like not 100% necessary in every collection, like at least have some kind of blending brush. But if you want to do a full face of makeup and be able to do, you know, detail work, having more of a precise blending brush is really nice. Speaking of detail, another brush I highly recommend is having a pencil brush for going under the eye and really kind of packing that color in. Same thing, you can kind of pack it on the outer corner for even more detail work. So I have a couple of options here. I have the Morphe M431. This is very similar to the MAC 219. I'm not sure where my 219 is, but this brush right here is $8. The MAC 219 is $28, so very close dupe, much more affordable. I also have this one right here, which is the ColourPop E10. This is $7. I like that it's smaller, so you can really kind of get targeted with darker colors. And then I have this AOA Studio E134 brush, the smallest of them all. This is $10.55, and again, really nice to really get up there and kind of get between the roots of the lashes. I like them all. Tons and tons of brands sell pencil brushes. So go walk to your local Walgreens and you can probably find a couple from different brands. I think I have one from Believe Beauty from Dollar General. I have one from Sally Beauty. But really recommend, again, to just get under the eye and pack on that color. A blending brush can do that if you pinch it, right? So let's say I was taking that Smith brush, I could pinch it and go under like that, but you can get a lot more targeted application for a pencil brush. So really is kind of mandatory in the collection. And I think everybody needs an angled eyeliner brush in their collection. You can use them for your eyebrows. You can use them to apply eyeliner. Again, tons of brands sell these. I have one from MAC. This is the MAC 208. This is really nice for applying both eyeliner and applying product into your eyebrows. And then you guys know how much I love the Sigma winged liner brush. This is the E06. This is what I use for my eyeliner because, again, my eyes are hooded and they're small, so I want a really small brush. You can see the difference in size here if I put them together. The MAC 208 is $21. The Sigma E06 is $15. Wet n Wild has one at, again, Walgreens or CVS or Target for $1.19. So tons of brands have them. You can even use these, again, if you have no product on it, to pinpoint conceal. If you wanted to, you could use this to kind of help with your lip liner blending. Really versatile brush. Like I said, eyebrows are really nice, but you definitely need some kind of angled brush if you're going to be doing eyeliner or do any kind of brow product. And last but not least, I recommend having a spoolie in your collection. I have had this one right here from MAC forever. And then I have this Anastasia brush right here. I did not write down the price of the MAC brush. I want to say it was like $19 or something like that. And I'm pretty sure no, I don't think I bent that. I think that came bent, which I really like, but you can bend them. Maybe I bent it, can't remember. And then this one, the Anastasia number 12 brush, is $18. The Anastasia actually has a liner on the other side as well, which is great for the eyebrows. So this is kind of a duo brush. If you didn't want to purchase an angled brush and a spoolie, you can purchase this. I really, really like this one. e.l.f. has one that looks very similar for $4 at, again, Walgreens, Target. So really recommend having this because you can blend, or not blend, brush out your mascara to make your mascara look less spidery if you accidentally get too heavy. I've been trying to go in and really add my mascara to my roots and then slowly blend up and then, you know, brush them out so they look nice. And then the same thing, brushing up your eyebrows. I have my Benefit brow set, so it's hard to do that because they're like glued onto my face, but brushing up your eyebrows as you do your eyebrows and then to set your eyebrows really makes you look more awake. So I think you definitely need a spoolie in your collection. So I feel like I talked a lot in this video, but I wanted to make sure I gave you all of the detail I possibly could on why I recommend these brushes, how to use them, what they do, the 10 basics plus a sponge. Then you can kind of build from there, right? I have a lot more brushes that I use on a day-to-day basis because I've just collected them over the years. So like this one right here, this Charlotte Tilbury brush is my contour brush and it's really pointed. So it's a lot different than using something like my bronzer brush from Wet n Wild, right? It's a lot bigger. This is a lot more targeted and it's meant for that, but I can really get in that pocket of my cheekbone and apply that color without having it move too much. Same thing with different blending brushes. I have this Sigma 230, I want to say this is. This is kind of like an in-between the big fluffy brush that I shared with you from Wet n Wild, and then the Smith 247. This is really nice to kind of get in the outer corner and blend or go down the nose. So I think starting with the 10 basics will really help you formulate your collection. Then you can kind of add from there and figure out what works for you. So I hope this video is helpful to some of you. Thank you for hanging out. I know it was long. I'm really enjoying doing these Technique Tuesday videos though. The whole reason I started my channel was to be able to kind of educate and help you if you struggled with your hooded eyes, but I also want to help share my knowledge of makeup and what I've learned over the years. So if you have any questions, let me know down below. I'm always with you guys, hanging out in the comments, answering questions. If you're interested in seeing any more videos from me, please subscribe. It means the absolute world to me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye. Man, when you talk for like an hour, it is like friggin' hard. I am sorry I had to do faux freckles on my face. I went in with the Going Coconuts palette and tried to do liner, and there was fallout everywhere. So I had to do the faux freckles, but I like them. It's a little bit weird when it's 15 degrees in December, but oh well. I wonder what the people outside my window think about me sitting here. Like literally, I am like floor level, sitting here with a camera, a ring light, talking.